Hi, it's Ben, back again already, pretending that I'm a YouTuber or something. um, this video is going to be about my training, a little bit of like an introductory overview video to that, and looking at kind of what my goals are and how I think I'm going to achieve those. So, as you may know, I've briefly touched upon I'm doing Ironman next summer. And I've set myself the goal of a sub 10 hour Ironman, which broken down is going to take me about an hour and 15 to do the 2.4 mile swim, roughly 5.5 hours to do the 110 mile bike, and then I'm aiming for around about a 3 hour 15 marathon after that. And this obviously is going to be ridiculously hard. I'm not shying away from that fact. Um, and at the moment, I'm training roughly 8, 9 times a week, trying to add in variety and make sure that I'm obviously cycling, improving my swimming technique, and also running. And then in amongst that, I do some strength training, mainly like core stuff and leg workouts, and also stretching. And I think when I think about well, if and how I'm going to achieve a time like that, I think for me it's going to come down to two things, and that's going to be whether my training is kind of right in terms of I'm doing the right things. I've got a good variety in there. I'm using the right methodology to push myself in different zones, etc., so that I can kind of do the longer endurance stuff. And then I think the other half is all going to be up here, uh, the mental aspect of training, and then also the mental aspect in the race. And I think from a young age, I've always been fascinated by our ability to push ourselves beyond kind of what we think is like our end point in terms of when we're training, and then can we go beyond that and then beyond that, and every time we train can we achieve a point of which where we know we've absolutely smashed it and worked so hard in that session. And I think as I've boxed from a young age and been exposed to having to kind of push myself to the limit a lot, I think I've become quite good at being able to essentially battle the demon in my head that tells me that I've had enough and it's too hard, and carry on. And I think I've developed or got a few different like mind strategies that I use to help me achieve that, and I wanted to share those with people. People probably have their own ways of doing it. They may be similar to mine, they may be not, but I thought I'd just give a bit of an insight into how I'm making sure that mentally I'm prepared to go to the limit and beyond every time I train, so that I'm kind of getting the best results that I possibly can in the time period. So the first mind strategy that I have is believing that I am the toughest and hardest trainer in the gym. So when I go into the gym, I give myself the title on my head that I am the hardest working person in that gym over everybody else. And in my mind, I believe that whether it's true or not, whether it's factually true, I don't know. But every time I step into the gym, I pretend that people look at me and think that's that guy. That's the guy that always trains really hard. That's that guy that looks like he's just absolutely nailing himself into the ground. And I pretend that people give me that title in the gym. And so when I go in that gym and put my session in and leave that gym, I make sure that I have worked harder than everyone else in that gym. And I look around, and most of the time I have. Maybe not, but as long as I believe that, and when I'm telling myself that, it will just constantly drive me to just keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. And when you start kind of believing it, you then just start putting it into your work rate, and you'll see noticeable improvements when you just start thinking that you're the toughest trainer in the gym, and you give yourself that responsibility, and you don't want to let anyone down in that respect. So that's my first mind strategy that I use to push myself. The second one is that I will pretend everyone is watching. Obviously, I think when people are watching you do something, when it comes to an exercise, you do generally probably perform harder than when no one is watching. But quite often, no one is watching. And so I like to basically picture in my head that, and pretend, similar to the first concept, where I'm pretending that people are watching me. And when I'm getting into that state of discomfort and when it's getting hard, I just think about, I'll pick someone in the gym. They're not looking at me, they don't care about what I'm doing, but I will make myself believe that they keep looking over at me and watching me, and therefore I use that as a motivation to basically push myself to keep going harder and harder and harder and harder. So they look, and then so that I think that they're looking at me thinking, shit, this guy's a nutter. Like, how is he training like that? Like, I wish I had trained like that. And I'll use that as a spur on, to just keep me going and keep me going. One more rep, one more set, pushing it on the cardio. I'm a big fan. I like cardio on the pure basis is that I can really absolutely smash it and get a really good workout. Like, for me, like, obviously when you do weights you get a pump on. When you do cardio you just absolutely shagged, and for me that feeling is, there's nothing better than that feeling when I step off that treadmill or whatever cardio machine it is. That for me, that feeling is, there's nothing better than that. So that's the second thing that I do. The third is all about visualization. So for me, my obviously goal is an Ironman, running it and doing it. For me, the visualization is that when I'm running or when I'm swimming or cycling, I visualize that it's me in the race. So when things do get tough and uncomfortable, I picture myself, actually, this is in the race time, and this is what it's going to be like. And in the race, I'm not going to give up and stop. So why would I give up and stop in training? And I will picture my mum and dad on the side cheering me on, and I'll grit my teeth and when I'm in this training session and think, I've got to push, I've got to push, I've got to push, I've got to push. And I'll keep replaying that scenario in my head, so that, as in, I'm picturing myself in the race and I'm pushing, I'm pushing, I'm pushing, I'm pushing, I'm pushing, until it gets too hard. Well, until it gets too hard, that's subjective. I'll keep pushing, and like I said, I'll keep replaying that scenario in my head, and just that visualization. So if you have an end goal of something that you want to get to, whether it's a race or it's more just like a body transformation, or you want to get stronger, then use the power of visualization. Is really, really good in just helping you go to that next level. And that for me is one that works really well. It doesn't work for the whole of the session, but when things get a little bit hard and you just need, if you're on your own or no one's there to push you, you need to kind of use up here to do it for you. And I feel that works really well for me. The fourth one is so breaking stuff up into intervals, or breaking stuff up, like breaking stuff down. So when I'm doing cardio, if I'm doing something for half an hour, I will break it down into 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 10 seconds. And so I'm looking to do the next 10 seconds, and then I reset the clock, the next 10 seconds, and then the next 10 seconds. And when it gets hard, if I've got 5 minutes left, I break that down and say, okay, well, all I've got to do is the next 30 seconds, and then it gets to 30 seconds, and then I think, well, all I've got to do is the next 30 seconds, and then the next 30 seconds. Rather than looking at, I've got 5 minutes left, I break it down into intervals in my head, so that all I have to do is, and I tell myself, if I do the next 15 seconds, I'll be rich forever. Something stupid like that. If I do the next 30 seconds, I'll get the 10-hour Ironman. If I do the next 30 seconds, I'll be happy forever. In my head, I give myself like imaginary achievements if I do the next 30 seconds or a minute. And I basically will bang that thought into my head like, oh, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to be successful, I do this, like I will be successful if I do this 30 seconds. And I'll keep using that as a tactic to try and just get me over the line. That actually works quite well as well, and it kind of just takes your mind off the fact that it is getting really hard. And then the last thing I do, which is slightly different than the previous four, as they focus on thoughts in your head. The fifth one is almost having no thoughts in your head, which is so just focusing on your breath. A little bit like mindfulness and meditation. Quite often when things get hard, you do kind of start to not panic, but your mind starts rushing. There's nothing wrong with that. Then you start kind of breathing heavy, but actually, if the one thing in your mind you focus on is your breath, and you just slow your breath down and you just focus on that, it's weird. It kind of can get you into this state where if things are seeming quite hard and you focus on your breath, it almost doesn't seem as hard anymore, because again, you're taking your mind off the actual pain and suffering of you doing that workout. And if you just focus on the breath, it's difficult to focus on the breath for a long time. I struggle with it because I'll do it for 30 seconds and then all of a sudden I'm back into thinking, shit, this is really hard. But it's something that you can use in terms of just if you can remember to do it, just literally all you have to do is just focus on your breath, just as if you were meditating, and it will just calm you a little bit when you're in that state of stress, when you're training really hard. So those are the 5 kind of mind strategies that I use to push myself harder. Hopefully people may be able to relate to some of those. They might be things that they've never even thought of or considered, or they've never even actually really thought about what they actually do to push themselves harder. But hopefully people could use some. I'd recommend trying these out because they work for me. And I am the hardest worker in the gym, as I said, and I push myself every time I go to the gym, and I'm so happy with that, because I use these things to just absolutely smash myself into the ground, and that feels so good when I come out of the gym. Rarely do I have a session where I feel like I haven't tried my hardest. So they're the principles that I'm looking to put into my training. Like I said, it's going to be a mixture of me making sure I'm doing the right things, along with hard work, and then hopefully that's going to lead me towards achieving my sub 10-hour marathon Ironman. So yeah, that's kind of the video wrapped up there. Hopefully not too long, maybe of some interest to some people. Next video, I'm gonna talk about my journaling that I do every night, and the importance of self-awareness in helping you essentially be a better you. And I'm going to talk about I only started journaling a few months ago. I'm going to talk about kind of what that experience has been like for me, and how I've kind of built it into a habit now, and what it's done for me. So hopefully that will be of interest to people. Thanks for watching my video, appreciate it. Hopefully see you soon. See you later.